Vince said, why do it like what is the WWE universe whenever they see something they don't like, they start going, delete, delete, delete. Why does the WWE universe do that? Damn it. And they go, well, it's a thing the Hardys are doing right now.
Right.
They have this real cool thing. It's like he's Broken Matt and his brother's different. He's called Brother Nero, and they've got this broken universe thing. He said, it's the Hardys. He said, bring them back home, damn it. Bring them all back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are live inside of the Mack Down Report, and this one, super special, legendary, the one and only, one of the greatest to ever do it, the one and only Matt Hardy in the building. Yeah.
My man, thank you. I'm ready to come in here and lay that Mack down with you. You know what I mean? Lay the Mack down on everybody who steps up.
You know it, man. Bruh, you have no idea. Well, I don't, you know what? I can't even say you know idea. Do you feel that you are as legendary as we all know you are?
Speaking from a real perspective, I don't think so, but it does not get lost on me. My brother and I, we've had so much impact on so many people across cultures. It's very, very cool. And we do take a lot of pride in that. And I think we do realize that. We have come to that realization. We feel it. We sense it. And we both feel very blessed that we've had this longevity and the ability to have so many magical moments throughout our careers.
33 years?
34.
34
this
years.
Is year 34 right now.
1992.
Yep.
Looking back at that from there, do you still remember that first day?
Oh, yeah. No, I remember that first day like it was yesterday.
Wow.
Because we were wrestling on a fair show, and it was our first time in front of a crowd, and there were 300 and some people out there. And it was, we had trained a little bit, and we played around our backyard. We had a trampoline. That's where we kind of tried to teach ourselves how to wrestle. And then we had got involved with some people who were actually involved in pro wrestling, and there was a guy who was doing shows on fairs, and that was our first match, right? October 15th, 1992. And I'll never forget, we had to change because there were some people that didn't show up, so we had to wear masks. Jeff and I both had to wear a mask and wrestle another match and fill in because the whole show wasn't there. There were some people who couldn't get there. And then the last match was me and Jeff, and we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to have a real good match against one another, and we always did. And we took a lot of pride in that. But the feeling of going out in front of a crowd for the first time ever and hearing people cheer and boo and be emotionally invested in a story, this very physical act of fighting one another that you're doing and trying to tell a story was something that was game-changing for us. And man, this is addictive. I want to do this for a career. I want to do it for life.
So that was the moment where you're like, nah, this is nothing else is going to happen for me except for wrestling.
Yeah. I mean, we were committed. Once we fell in love with pro wrestling, and these guys seemed like living, breathing superheroes, and they're real. You can meet them.
Right.
You can see them, and Macho Man was the first guy that really had a hold on me. He was I just loved his over-the-top presence and the way he spoke, the way he dressed. He was so flamboyant and everything. And the fact that his finisher was an elbow drop off the top rope, me and Jeff thought that was real cool because a lot of guys do more boring moves. It was a very exciting move. And Jeff was a big fan of Sting and the Warrior. Obviously, that kind of inspired his face paint later on as days went on. But, we knew we wanted to do that. And once we started doing indies and wrestling on smaller levels, we were totally hooked, man. We were hooked, and we were going to do everything in our power to make it work as a career.
Now, when you said that you guys were, amazed about the elbow off the top,
yeah,
is that kind of when you guys said, look, we want to start doing more adventurous or off the top things, or did that come later on?
I think so. I remember for me, and I would hear guys wait, and usually the lowest weighing guy would be 238 pounds, 240 pounds.
Right.
But a lot of guys then were 290, 350, 340. And I was like, man, we're so small, Jeff. We're so small. We got to gain some size. And I remember being poor. I remember buying cans of just bean and stuff that would have protein, and I would just eat that stuff nonstop. I'm like, come on, I got to force feed myself. I got to gain weight if I want to be a wrestler. But then
I've never had that problem.
And then we Jeff and I both said, Jeff said, what if we just try and wrestle a little different? Maybe we'll be a little more exciting. And, it's kind of how we kind of built our style, and that's kind of the pace that we started working, especially once we started promoting our own shows, which would eventually become Omega. I mean, the first stuff we were doing was very much like what the X Division would become in TNA later on, and almost like kind of the AEW style of wrestling right now, which is go, 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 go. Like, you know, we were, you know, some of the first guys that were doing that kind of style, and we were doing it everywhere in the 90s.
Do you remember the first match where you felt like, oh, we are professional wrestlers now?
I think so. So it kind of hits different. So the first time that we ever went to WWE and worked as enhancement talent, and we went through the Italian Stallion. He would book a lot of extra guys. We went.
Enhancement talent is the jobber, is what they say, right?
Yep. Enhancement was a much more politically correct way of saying it, I guess. But yes, job guys. You know, we'd go and do jobs, and it felt so validating and empowering to walk into WWE and go back into the locker room. And I remember we were so heavily influenced by the first ever ladder match, which happened at WrestleMania 10 between HBK and Razor Ramon. And we saw them like just shooting the shit and talking to one another and like having a good time, you know, because they were tight boys in the clique anyway. And we're like, whoa, you know, wrestling is just like, you know, we've been doing, you know,
right.
Like now we're seeing it, that it's just the same here at WWE, and it's so cool. And that night, Jeff was the first one who wrestled. He was 16 years old. Initially, when he was going on that trip, I asked the Italian Stallion, I was like, his name's Gary Saba. I was like, Stallion, can Jeff actually wrestle? He's only 16. He's like, just have a note from his dad and it'll be fine. But then Stallion
like a permission slip?
Yes. Stallion made him lie about his age and move his birthday back 2 years.
Wow.
On the form, because whenever you sign the release forms, when you're there doing jobs, doing enhancement work. And Jeff wrestled that match first. Razor Ramon was going to be wrestling a guy that was a local. And then the guy said, I can't take his finish at Razor's Edge because I got a bad neck. I don't want to end up in the hospital. I got a bad neck. And, you know, we're like, why is Stallion bringing guys that aren't healthy?
Right.
You know, we're young. Like, this time I'm 18 and Jeff's 16, you know, so we're like healthy as we can. We're invincible this time. You can't kill us then. And Jeff went out and wrestled the match, and Scott Hall roughed him up a little bit because he was mad because the other guy pulled out of his match. And then he felt real bad afterwards, and it was a big bonding moment. And the clique were always real nice to me and Jeff. You hear a lot of horror stories about these guys, but they were super cool to us, and they would always tell all their friends, they're like, hey, if you guys get an extra, try and get like Matt or Jeff Hardy. Try and get them because they'll take like a crazy bump for you, and they'll sell for you.
You can beat them up, they're fine.
Yeah, they love it. They're there for it. And then I wrestled Nikolai Volkov on a live Raw. And it was wild.
That was like 94, 95?
It was in 94, May 23rd, 1994 was the date. So that was my first WWE match. So, I mean, that obviously felt like, wow, like we've done something. We're wrestling on a WWE show. You know, we're getting paid for it. Like, it was the biggest payday we ever got for a match, $150. And then we had to pay the Italian Stallion $100 worth of a booking fee after we left that night, which we had no idea.
You found that out after?
Oh, yeah. So he drove. We all got in the van. There were like 13 people, right? And he drove, and he got it to a point. It was him and George South. Those guys were the brains running this operation. And then we got to a really wooded area. There wasn't any houses around or anything else. And he pulled off on the side. He said, all right, boys. He said, I know a lot of you guys who've been here know this before. A lot of new guys on this trip, too. He said, I'm going to need that booking fee. If you want to ride in this van to the next town, I'm going to need 100 of that 150 you made tonight.
That's crazy.
So, like, you pulled over like he's just going to drop you out, leave you in the middle of nowhere.
You have no choice but to give that money.
Yeah, just, right. So, and we're like, at this point, we don't care. We're like on WWE TV, and this is like, you know, our dream. It's cool. But that felt special. But I feel like we truly made it is once we were offered a contract, and that was end of 97, early 98, and then we actually won our first match in 98. And that's back when we were wearing the tights, and we ended up defeating Kai and Tai in a big upset. So at that point, we're like, we've made it.
Right.
We're here. We're getting paid. We get a check every week. It clears.
Which is always the best. You don't have to pay a booking fee.
We don't have to pay 66% of the booking fee of our payday. So that was good. The point where we really felt like that we had made it and became stars in pro wrestling was at No Mercy 1999 in the tag team ladder match with Edge and Christian. That match, even though we'd won the titles before and that was like our dream, that match with Edge and Christian, the tag team ladder match, that changed our reaction forever after that. People looked at us different. They saw us as stars.
So being up to that point, you know, you're still young. You got your contract. You in there. On the opposite side of the last question I asked you, was there a moment where you were like, you know what? I don't know if we're really built for this.
I don't think there has been a moment.
Wow.
I don't think there was. There were times where we felt like they're like, we really like what you're doing. We maybe would like to do more business with you guys, whatever. WWE, this is when we were doing jobs from, you know, from 94 to 97. In that time, we're like, oh, well, I don't know if they're ever gonna, do anything. If they're ever gonna do anything with us, maybe we should try and go to WCW and see if we can get in down there, or whatever else. And we had actually talked to some people at ECW, and if we hadn't have signed that WWE contract, we were gonna end up going to ECW. So that if we hadn't have went to WWE when we did, we would have landed in ECW before it was all said and done, and who knows where that would have taken us.
Do you ever think about that, like where the career path would have gone?
Yeah, about what is. Yeah. I have no idea. I mean, I feel like if we don't land in WWE and we don't learn all of the stuff we learned about the way to work and the best way to be viewed as a superstar, I don't think we follow the same path, and I don't think we have the longevity and we become as big of stars as we ultimately did at WWE.
Wow. So you in WWE, knowing that there would have been a possibility going to ECW, do you ever, at that moment, watch stuff and you be like, we would have fit there, or I wish we would have gone against these people? Yeah,
no, we did. I'll never forget whenever there was the ECW invasion in Philly, when they showed up in the front row and they did that angle, and like they were working with ECW a little bit. It wasn't very public knowledge, or it wasn't all the way out then. But we saw them at a Hooters afterwards. We had went there. It was myself, my brother, Jason Arndt, which was one of our buddies, and Marty Garner, who was Joy Abs of the Mean Street Posse.
Okay.
And we were all in there, and we saw the ECW guys, and we chatted with them a little bit, and the Sandman, this may be surprising, he'd had a few drinks. He'd had he'd down a couple of beers. He was pretty good.
At Hooters, you know.
You guys pretty good, right? You guys are pretty good, whatever. We're like, yeah, here's our demo tape. We gave him a VHS tape. And I'll never forget, because Sandman called us at home, and we were still at our dad's house, and we were both there at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And our dad's like, who the hell is calling at 3 o'clock in the morning? Don't they know I got to go to work tomorrow? What the hell? He was up bright and early. He was a mailman. But we did that, and he talked to us on the phone and said, I watched your match. I love this Willow thing and the thing you did. And I have these people in the Middle East that would like to book you in Japan. And I'm going to talk to Paul. And that's where that whole thing got started. With the conversation, Sandman and I think Raven too, they watched a VHS tape of our work.
VHS tape. That doesn't show your age. I don't know. There's probably people like, what is that?
Yeah, VHS tape. They were real guys, and it was a much simpler and easier time. Everybody wasn't getting hacked every other day.
The only thing you had to worry about is somebody recording over your tape.
Yeah. No, don't you got to take the tab out.
Yeah, like, what is this Little Mermaid? What happened to my match?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So, looking at your career, you have reinvented yourself a lot.
Yeah.
Where did the broken Matt Hardy come from?
I was thinking about just the landscape in pro wrestling at that time. You know, we're in 2016, and guys have gotten a lot smaller.
Mm-hmm.
The match styles changed, where it's a lot more athletic, a lot more action-packed. They're doing more acrobatics in the match, taking more risk, working harder, more bumps, as opposed to like story and character. You know, like that work was not as prevalent as the in-ring action was.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, well, what if I actually just try to go the opposite direction? I said, as opposed to like trying to like
keep up with what everything is going on.
Yeah, I said, look, what if I did like a throwback to like the Papa Shango days? Because I loved Papa Shango. Whenever Godfather, and he's the greatest Papa.
One of my favorites.
He is the cool. Which he kept saying that. He said, I love doing Godfather so much because that's me. Yeah. He said, I'm a pimp in real life. He said, that's me. I love doing that.
My favorite part of him is the fact that whether you win or lose, it's like, do you want to fight or you want to dance with these lovely women?
Yeah, exactly. Can't beat it. And him as Papa Shango, I thought that was great. I dug that. Even when Undertaker first kind of had the magical powers and would do things, I said, let me see if I could pull off some sort of over-the-top character.
Right.
My wife and I, we had just binged True Blood for some reason at that point. And I was like, these vampires, it's cool how they live for 1,000 years, and they're in these different time periods, and like their hairstyle changes depending on what's cool in pop culture. Their clothing changes depending on what's cool in pop culture, you know, and you see all these different stages. And I was like, it'd be great to play an immortal character. I said, you can't really be immortal because we're mortal and we're going to change or look different. I said, but what if I could tap in and say, I'm aware of where my soul or my essence, as Broken Matt Hardy said. And so this essence has lived for 2,000 years. So that's what I am speaking from. And that's where the whole Broken Matt Hardy thing came from like the concept of vampires more than anything else, especially when I'm saying I'm aware of like my soul was in your body for
however long,
74 years, and then in this other body for 90 years, and then
you don't want these diabetes for 74 years.
And then it was in a giraffe. It was in a giraffe
right.
for 15 years, and then it comes back to me, whatever. But I can keep track of that, and that way I could say I'm this old and have outrageous experiences, talk to animals, and fight kangaroos, and I mean we had so much fun doing that, and it was so out of the box. And then that's why I said let me just try something different, and we did that first ever contract signing before we were going to do the Final Deletion, which was going to be a cinematic match. And we said, hey, like, we changed the game when it came to telling stories with, like, inanimate objects with ladders and tables and chairs and the TLC thing. I said, like, let's try and change the game again, Jeff. Like, let's do something that looks cinematic. It's like a movie. It's on our property, and we're fighting all around.
Right.
And do something different. And Jeff was on board to do it. And the Broken Matt Hardy thing became white hot and so viral. And ultimately that – it got over so big. That's what ended up taking us back to WWE when it was all said and done.
Was Delete an accident? Did you know it was going to be as big as it is?
I did. I mean, I thought it would be successful, but we did that first segment and it was so polarizing. There were people that were saying, like, "Oh my God, this is like back to like character work in wrestling. I love this. This is amazing. This is awesome." And the people that like the work rates, Tony Khan calls them the sickos. I think the people that like their in-ring wrestling and everything else. And there were people going, "The Hardy Boys are going to ruin their legacy. This is the worst I've ever seen." They were like, but people were they had an opinion. You know what I mean? And I said, well, just that. The fact that so many people were saying so many different things, we have people's attention. So let's keep following through with it. And we did that Final Deletion, and it was the highest rated TNA thing they'd had in a long time, especially after they'd been off Spike TV. It was the highest thing they had since then. And we were very proud of it, man. It continued to get hot, continued to grow. TNA was in a financially rough time, and I think the Broken Matt Hardy stuff and the Broken Universe being so hot and so viral at the time, it helped keep TNA alive and relevant to a new buyer, which is our current bosses and owners now, Anthem, until they bought the company. So they bought the company during that time we were doing it.
Wow. So in the midst of doing all that, right, your career, you guys have your tag team. When was the moment for you where you weren't just one half of the Hardy Boys? You were Matt Hardy.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that really started when I broke away from Jeff in 2002, and I went to SmackDown, and I was Matt Hardy version 1, the Sensei attitude. Because, I say this all the time, and Jeff is the epitome of like what the Hardy Boys always is and always represents.
Okay.
Because, the Hardy Boys were these adrenaline junkies, daredevils, willing to jump off any perch available that they can get access to.
You guys ruined ladders for everybody.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, dude, we hear so often, man, and it's so great. I take so much pride in it. I say, man, you got me in so much trouble with my mom. Like I was jumping off, and I jumped off the balcony, and I broke the couch, and I broke the bed, and this, man, my mom whipped my ass.
We had to take my boy to the hospital one time because he did a swanton off of something.
Yeah, I did a swanton and leg drop and just, flipping out. And, man, Jeff is that. That is Jeff's strength, right? He's so good in that, so graceful. And I almost got to the point where I'm like, we can do cool things together, and we have great tag moves and stuff we can do. But, I like be more the meat and potatoes guys because I cannot outshine Jeff in doing that stuff because that is truly what he does. But I knew when I got the chance to be a character and do Matt Hardy version 1, Sensei of Manitou, and I can be over the top, like half-assed delusional, larger than life, and talk a lot of trash. I was like, okay, now Vince is going to see where the value lies in when it's all said and done. And that almost kind of carried over to the same thing with Broken Matt Hardy, just being more of a character performer.
Do you have moments that still give you chills thinking about it?
I do. The WrestleMania 33 return does often, especially when people tell me that people are so emotionally tied and connected to that in so many ways. And when I think to me, that moment was so surreal because I remember it very vividly, but it was so overwhelming from a sensory perspective. It was like blurry around the edges. It feels like a dream in some ways.
Still today.
Wow. Because we had never seen the arena. We had gotten there 30 minutes before we were going to go out. They snuck us in the arena, and they walked us up to Gorilla right when the team started going, or sprinted us, ran us up to Gorilla. We had to get hoodies and hide out so we couldn't be spotted. They did a really good job of trying to keep it all on the DL. And then just coming out, like we hadn't seen this huge ramp. We haven't seen this sea of humanity. Like, we're just viewing this for the first time. And the fact that there were tens of thousands of people, there are 45,000 people out there going, delete, 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 mimicking a taunt that we created in a company that people thought was going to be dead or was dying. And that's how people know. That's how popular it was online and everything else. And once Vince heard our deals were up, and there was a bit of a snag with some stuff with TNA, and Vince said, "Oh, the Hardys are going to be." He said, "Bring them back home, damn it, bring them all back." And I don't know why I said bring them all back, but there's only two of us right now. He said, "Damn it!"
All of a sudden, Ed Hardy's with you, and you're like, "Who are these people?"
Well, that's what I heard. Like, so they were in a meeting, right, and they were discussing creative. And Vince said, "Why do it like when? What is the WWE universe? Whenever they see something they don't like, they start going, delete, delete, delete. Why does the WWE universe do that? Damn it." And they go, "Well, it's a thing the Hardys are doing right now."
Right.
They have this real cool thing. It's like he's broken Matt, and his brother's different. He's called Brother Nero, and they've got this broken universe thing. He said, "It's the Hardys." He said, "Bring them back home, damn it. Bring them all back." That's my favorite thing. He said, "Bring them all back.
Bring them all back." Where's the rest of them? No, it's just two of us.
There was always only been two guys.
Bring them all, and you come back with random people.
Yeah.
You said bring some people back. So.
This is a Hardy. This is a Hardy. Maybe everything, man. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. So, what's a misconception that people tend to have about you?
That's a good question. This is something that I think this is a misconception that especially people online seem to have, because there was a time when AEW and like whenever the CM Punk thing and that Brawl Out deal happened, whenever that whole thing happened with them and the Bucks, whatever, like I've always been great buddies with the Bucks, and I've liked them so much. When all that happened, they're like, "Well, damn it, Matt Hardy's the one who's leaking all this. He's leaking it to the dirt sheets." And it's funny. It's like, I'm an advocate to not do that. Like, I'm an advocate to like totally protect everything in the business. Like, I will say my opinions, especially when there's something I can discuss. But like when people leak stuff to the dirt sheets, it like hurts or damages the product or what's going on. I don't believe in that at all.
Right.
Like, I think we have to protect our industry, and that's kind of the old school in me to a degree. Like, I get that all this stuff is very relevant, important, the internet and the coverage on it and whatnot. I mean, it's a different, constantly evolving world that we live in, right, in society. But like as far as like being that I was going to try and bury someone or leak something, like I don't do that. I'm sorry, I'm not that guy. But that's what a lot of the sickos said, because they weren't fans of me.
So when you're doing Broken Matt Hardy, do you feel like that you maximize the true potential of it, or do you feel like it got hindered in the creative sense?
When I was doing it at TNA, it definitely, I got to maximize it.
Okay,
I optimized it as much as possible. When we did WWE, once again, I knew I wasn't a Vince creation. I did want to do it while I was there. I wanted to have a cinematic match with Bray, and God bless his heart. Miss him all the time, think about him all the time. And I'm glad I did get to do that, and we got to have that moment where we got to have a cinematic match on the Hardy compound.
Right.
But there, Vince kind of like, took the reins, and I don't think we got as much out of it as we could have gotten. I think if Bray and I would have had a little more input in what we were doing, I think it could have had a lot more longevity and been a lot bigger of a deal.
What was you and Bray's relationship outside of the ring?
It was good. It's so funny. He remembered me a lot, where when I went through my darker day, when my body was beat up and I was kind of going through a turbulent period in life in 2010, beginning of 2011, he was always around whenever NXT first started, and I was one of the coaches on the show, and I was just so banged up physically. I was so hurt. I needed to take time away, and I was too stubborn to. But he was always saying, "Man, you were the coolest. Like, you were so great to me. I just got hired. My dad was working here, and I was an athlete. I'd played other stuff, college sports, but coming up wrestling, it was great. It was great. And it was very cool that whenever I started talking to him, whenever I was doing Broken Man, he was doing Bray, like he was like, "Oh man, you were always so good to me. You're always so nice to me." And he said, "Oh, we get to work together one day." And eventually we did. So we had a real good relationship. And I'll never forget whenever he'd started dating JoJo, who he ended up marrying and having kids with. I was the first one who knew about that. He kind of entrusted that information in me, I think. So we were out one night and he told me that, and I thought that was.
This was at Hooters too?
No, it wasn't. It was somewhere in Savannah, Georgia, And I'll never forget, we were at some restaurant, and there was that song says, I lost my heart in Havana, or whatever it is. We would always say that as a joke, an inside joke between both of us, but we would substitute Havana for Savannah for that night whenever that went down. So we had like a big night and did it all up real big that night and had a good time.
So you talked about, the times where you felt banged up and you needed to do that.
Yep.
In those moments, what keeps your passion going for this? Because I'm sure, look, my body's not built for any of that. I got in the ring one time. Soon as I stepped my foot, I said, I'm not doing none of these things. So doing it as long as you've done, taking the bumps that you've taken, all that, and then there's a moment you feel banged up.
Yep.
What keeps that passion there?
I think I'm just crazy. probably a half-assed sociopath. We love it. It was our dream to do this, and I think Jeff and we just want to see it through. We want to ride the spiral till it ends. If we can do it, we can. Even when I was talking about that, I remember it was one of those points where John Laurinaitis, who was the head of talent relations, I remember 2009-ish, whatever, and I was just like, I'm having some issues kind of in the morning with my back and hips, and I did leg drops for 20 years, which were way too many. I got to switch that up a little bit. But, is it possible to kind of get some time off, maybe not work a full-time schedule? And he's like, we just need you on the road, Matt. He said, we trust you. He said, I can put you in the ring with a small guy, a huge guy.
Right.
You won't take advantage of him. You won't take liberties. You'll do the right thing. You're someone who can teach them. And I need to keep you on the road. And I was going, well, man, I need to address these. He's like, well, go to the doctor and see what he says, and then you go to the doctor at that point and go, oh, well, your back and hips are really bad. Like, you could have surgery, or, we could give you some of these. Here, take some of these. And I go, this will relax your muscles and this will help the pain, and then that's a slippery slope, and I end up going down that and, ended up overcoming that and all good. But just as I'm older now, I try and focus more on my character work more than anything else. And I still work my ass off every single day. I'm up doing 30 minutes of cardio, 45 minutes of cardio every morning and doing a body part in. I mean, I know I have to keep my body as healthy as I can, especially after doing this for 34 years old, being 51, to be able to get in the ring and hang with these guys that are 24, 25 years old,
Yeah.
And I take a lot of pride in doing that as good as I possibly can. But cold plunges, that's been a big game changer for myself and Jeff. We've been doing that a whole lot, and we just try and live right, man. We try and eat right, eat healthy, and just be smart.
Do you think, because obviously outside of just the ring, like the characters and the creative, that's something that's important to you. Do you think that is something that takes precedent now in wrestling?
I would like it to take even more precedent in some ways. I just think having a character, not everybody has to be an over-the-top character.
Right.
We need guys that are just great wrestlers, and there's some guys who can kind of just get by on the wrestling because it is so good or so tremendous or so spectacular, whatever it may be. But I think to really make money and to make yourself a star, people have to be emotionally invested in you.
Right.
They have to care about you to a degree. And it's much easier to do that if you're some sort of persona that they can get behind, that they can understand, whatever it may be. And in some ways it worked really good for Jeff, where just our story, we're just guys who were very passionate. We love this. We grew up from, in a podunk town in Cameron, North Carolina, in the middle of nowhere. We had no ends of the wrestling business, no idea how to get in, and we literally just kind of willed our way into the business when it was all said and done. Our dad raised us. He was not a very emotional guy. Our mom died when we were young. She had cancer. And, our story is pretty intriguing. And you just have these two guys who just won't quit. And they keep coming back. They do enhancement work. They're job guys. They get beat up, but they just keep coming back. They keep coming back. They keep coming back. They will not die. They will not stop. They will not stop. And there's a lot of people who go like, man, there's been times in my life where I've said, like, I want to quit, but I just kind of look at your guys' story. And it just motivates me to keep going, keep going. Like, you can make it work as long as you keep doing the work and betting on yourself. And I feel like that's kind of been like an underlying theme in our whole career over and over, because there's so many times when people feel like they can write us off, but the Hardys are back and they're hotter than ever. You know what I mean?
Do you feel pressure to keep up with, like you said, the 23s and the 21s, or do you I know who we are. We've done what we've done.
Yep.
It's like, this is what you're going to get from us.
I don't now. I don't feel that pressure. I feel very confident. I know who I am, and knowing who I am and where my strengths lie and what I can do, especially because I want to work hard. I don't want to go out there and be lazy or
Right.
not work. I know what I can do. I know what I can do safely. I know what I can, do and recover from without any issues. But I do put a lot of emphasis on my character, and there's times where I've worked guys and they're like, "Oh, we could do this," and blah blah blah. Kamo's like, "Oh, brother, we don't have to do all that because
Right.
I promise if you just listen to kind of how we're doing this, we'll maximize the reaction for you and us if we do it this certain way. Like sometimes less is more. I mean, sometimes that holds true in some cases. So I have back in the day, but when I was doing Broken Matt Hardy and maybe even whenever I came back to WB and I was working and even in AEW, there was maybe a part of me that kind of second-guessed myself, like maybe I should be trying to do more to hang with these younger guys or do that. But it's just much like I'd said with Jeff, I kind of surrendered to the fact of like Jeff is the best flyer. And he's going to do it. It's going to be more graceful. It's going to look better. So I'm going to let him do that, and I'll do the stuff that he is not as strong in.
Right.
I'll kind of focus on my strengths, and he can focus on his strengths. And that's what makes us a really good team.
So now you doing matches in TNA. If there's an idea maybe Jeff has, and he's like, "Hey, I want to jump off of it," Matt Hardy going to be like, "Nah."
Yeah,
let's pin that one.
Yeah. No, we've done that. We have had times where, and a lot of times, man, when we're doing big matches like that, sometimes we'll go like, all right, I'll go, hey, Jeff, what kind of insane moment do you want to do in this? And maybe we'll start by figuring that out, and then we'll kind of build everything around that, So that's people want to see that insane Jeff Hardy moment. And since he's been working since November or so, since he's known, he had a couple bulging discs in his neck, and that has gotten better, and he's been like working real smart, and I'm very proud of him. He's been very disciplined at like kind of the stuff he has done in the ring. And for him, it's hard because he is so passionate and he feels like he owes everybody everything he has every single night. Jeff really does want to provide that. But there are times where he may suggest something like, oh, okay, let's think about that. Let's think about where it fits in the big scheme of things. And are we really getting the most out of that here? Or should we wait and do that later or whatever else? And we've been pretty good at like finding a happy medium with all that stuff.
So the way you talk about Jeff is like kind of like in a way that you look up to him with a lot of the stuff that he does. When he declined the Hall of Fame because he wanted both of you guys in there, did he talk to you about that beforehand? Did you know, or was it like a kind of a shock for you?
He told me right after you got that call. I said, yeah, they just wanted me to come back, and they want to do the Hall of Fame, but he said it just doesn't feel right without you going there. And they were hoping to get him to sign some sort of contract, I think, so that he didn't end up going to AEW at that time. And I think Jeff was just a little frustrated with what he was doing. And it happens. It happens in all places, especially if you allow it to. One thing that is great about TNA, they're just really open to letting us kind of paint our own pictures in a lot of ways, and it keeps us in a relevant spot, so we seem like relevant in this day and age in 2026. Because sometimes in other companies are like, well, if the Hardys can't go, like they did in 2002, maybe we can't feature them as much or whatever else. But like, TNA gets that, and I think the coolest thing about us is just the amount of fans that are just like, we have to get out and see you before you retire.
Yeah.
It could be any time. We have to get out and see you, so we're going to be there. We're going to be there. And the fact that works for us, and we both feel good, and we both feel healthy, and we're very passionate and love what we do.
So we on the road to Slammiversary right now.
Yep.
Last year, Bound for Glory, you and the Dudleys had a match, and it ended with them, obviously retiring. And did you guys know that was happening?
No, we didn't know that was going to happen, and I'm glad. I'm glad we didn't. I'm glad it was an organic, real reaction from us. So we had that match. So Devon, once again, I love Bubba and Devon. Obviously, we had so many wars with those guys, went nuts with those guys, had so many matches. God, who knows how many matches we had with those guys, right? Put each other through so many tables, obviously. And Devon had some health issues, and we were saying, dude, like if you could do one last one, we would love to do it. Maybe we could do it in TNA after Jeff and we were back. And Devon busted his ass, and he got healthy. He got cleared, and the doctor said, "Hey, you should be good to do this. Just be smart. Be smart with what you're doing." And I'm so happy for not just Devon Dudley or Devon of Team 3D for Devon Hughes.
Right.
That the man got to go out on his own terms in a big match with like career rivals with the one of us, and also that he got through that match in one piece. We were joking him before. We're like, hey brother D, we just don't want to unalive you in this match. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
we need you to be alive. And he did great, man. And I love that match. It was very. I thought the storytelling was very strong in it. Once again, there was just such a built-in story of nostalgia for that anyway, and to have another tables match 25 years after our first one was wild, right? And to go out, and we knew that was going to be Devon's last match. And then Bubba said, we have something at the end that we're going to do. Would you like to know about it? He said, because I think you probably would rather not know, and it'll just come off more authentic.
Right.
And I was like, hey, I don't want to hear it.
I
don't want to hear shit. You just do it. So they have the match, and it ends, and they do the thing, and Devon starts taking off his boots, and we're like, oh, well, we knew Devon was going, but then Bubba starts doing it. And then they both take off their boots as they're retiring, and they hand us the boots. And it's funny, Jeff asked me afterwards, he said, hey, dude, is that like taking off your boots and then like giving them to your opponents? Is that a thing? I said, it is now.
Yeah.
And there were people, I mean, there were several people in the first few front rows that were crying. They were emotional. You could see tears like, oh my God, like what are we witnessing? Our childhood era is over.
I was so upset that I wasn't there because I was at Slammiversary when you guys announced the match.
Right.
So I said, listen, I'm going to have to sell my left foot so I can make sure I'm there.
Right.
But for whatever reason, I wasn't able to make it. So I'm watching it, and I'm like, this is really happening.
Yeah. And it was good, man. It was quality stuff, no doubt. Even going back to that, whenever Bubba showed up at the end of Slammiversary, you said you were there, right?
Yeah.
Jeff and I didn't know he was going to be there.
Wow.
And that, once again, I think he did that. He showed up last minute, and Tommy had mentioned, he said, if we can do the match with the Dudleys and we can get it cleared, are you up for it? Do you want to do it? And we're like, yeah, we would love to do that. I mean, that would be great, and I think we could make some magic happen. And Bubba ended up showing up, and he just said, well, after the match ends and you guys win back the titles, something will happen at the end. Just hang out in the ring for a minute and just celebrate, and we'll, you'll see what it is. And it's like, okay.
Wow.
And it ended up being Bubba. And once again, good, authentic, genuine reaction.
TNA is on fire right now. TNA has a good push.
Yep.
They have the AMC deal, and it's like, what is it about TNA right now that's really like moving because you got the in-ring stuff that's doing really well. Like I said, you have the storylines, the creatives. Like, what is it about it right now that's like, oh, we're in a good place right now?
I mean, I think TNA is doing a great job, once again, of giving like traditional pro wrestling, which has characters and stories. You have such a variety. There's legends that are there now, there's younger talent. There's guys who were like on these redemption arcs, which is amazing. They just had a match with Rich Swann and Mike Santana.
And Mike Santana was amazing.
Amazing. The best straight up wrestling match we've had in this AMC era, no doubt. And those are both two guys. Like Rich Swann had a thing where he'd got in trouble and went away, and he got all clean and got his life together. Mike Santana has been through that same type deal, and he's very open and outspoken about it. And to see those two go in there and do that and get that opportunity to hold it down in the main event and just go out and kill it like that was great, man. And I think TNA, to me, feels very much like ECW almost did in the 90s. Because it's almost kind of like the black sheep, but it's kind of the cool black sheep because it's different, and there's guys that are going to come in and that are going to work at TNA. They're going to get over and do real big. And then TNA is not the most wealthy company in the world right now because there's WWE, which is
money doesn't,
it doesn't. But what will happen is you'll have guys who will get over and then they'll leave and they'll maybe go to WWE or wherever else. But then we'll pop somebody else right in and then start building them. Paul Heyman was a master of doing that, in ECW. He would get people over. He would realize, like, how can we highlight and protect this guy by focusing on his strengths and whatnot? And I feel like that's going to be TNA's job. And the fact that we now have this platform with AMC and they're great partners. Last night we did the upfront here in New York, and whenever the AMC trailer came on, it got a great reaction, big pop, which was so cool. And there were a lot of wrestling fans in that room, which was so nice. But they've just said too, like the amount of fans that are coming from sports programming and wrestling programming that are now watching AMC has been overwhelming, and they're super happy with everything. And I think it's a great fit. They wanted to get into some sort of more sporting content, and it's been great to be there, especially that we've been consistently doing around that 250 number, whatever, on the actual viewership there. Then plus with the TNA and AMC Plus, we have 500,000, watching whenever it's live, and it's been great, man.
So Slammiversary is coming up.
Yep.
June. Is there somebody that either you or you and your brother would love to get their hands on?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably our first order of business is we have to take care of the righteous, because they've been on a thorn in our side. They wanted to pull out, and they're about to get their wish. Broken Matt and Brother Nero, so they're gonna see a different side of us.
They're gonna be on the compound.
They want to see that different side. That will eventually happen, and I'm already gonna go on record and say it's gonna end up being the greatest cinematic match that has ever been done.
Come on now,
when it's all said and done, especially because it's on AMC, and we're gonna go into the whole movie aspect of it all and really make some magic happen. But we have to take care of these guys, and then obviously, we call ourselves the GOATs, the greatest of all time, and I feel like you need to be rocking gold if you're going to be the GOATs. We gotta get those TNA tag team titles back that the righteous cost us by causing us to lose them to the system. So that's that goal, and it's Slammiversary. It wouldn't surprise me to see us in a big match for the tag team titles.
Now, speaking of gold, your legacy, your tag legacy, what else is left for you? What does Matt Hardy want?
I think Matt Hardy just wants to give back more than anything. I want to stay relevant and seem current and cool with the kids. I have, my kids are 10, 8, 6, and we finally had a girl. We had all three boys first. And we had a girl. She's 4. So, I try to stay cool with the kids. Yeah. You know what I mean? If I can stay cool with my kids, hopefully I can stay cool with other kids. And enjoy it. I mean, this was our passion. It's something we wanted to do. And if we can give back and help make other teams and work with younger talent and leave this industry and pro wrestling better off than when we found it, then that's kind of what my goal is.
Last question. Your final match. What does that look like for you? Are we going to get one last TLC match?
We may. I would never say never. It's hard for me. I can't really even put any focus on the last match right now because I don't see that. I don't see that.
You don't see a timeline right now. You just
I don't see a timeline. Yeah, we're just right. We're riding the spiral until we get to the end, and then we get to the end. We'll say, okay, well, let's figure it out. Once we get to that point. But I don't know, man. One thing I've said this before in the past. One thing that would be very magical would be to have like a TLC with Edge and Christian. That would be a fitting match for a final match. I think because that ladder match is what put us on the map in the first place, all 4 of us. So that would be a very fitting match. But I mean, who knows? We know, you never know where the landscape is going to be by the time we get there.
And just this is again hypothetical. If you get that last match, it's a ladder match. Is that the match where you're like, you know what? We taking the chains off. We gonna be 16 and 18 again, and we doing everything. Probably, or is it still
probably so?
Oh, really?
Yeah, probably so. We go nuts. We're my brother. If we don't have any more bookings for the next year, we're gonna go nuts.
That's the one where have the doctors ready.
Yeah.
Have the ice. We deep plunge it as soon as we get off.
Yep. No doubt.
Well, I appreciate you for hanging out with me, man.
You got it.
Impact every Thursday night, 9 p.m. AMC. Slammiversary, June 28th, Boston.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Matt Hardy.
My man. Yeah.